was doing some problems and I ran across something that I wanted to just take a minute to clarify. We talked about functions, okay? Remember that a function, basically it's a thing that one has inputs and outputs. Okay, this is used in I've seen it used on the where you plug cables into into computers and things like that. It means input output. There's input and there's output, um, and that's pretty simple. You put something into a function and it comes out. Okay, but not only that, but this other special thing about a function is that for every every input there is one, right? One and only one output. Okay, so like with our table factory, they only make tables, and they only make them out of wood. Okay, so you bring in some wood, a big stack of lumber, and that goes in. There's no confusion in here because they only do one thing. They are a function. They have a function, and that is to take wood and make it into this kind of table. The only variance maybe would be, you bring in oak instead of pine, or you bring in redwood instead of some other kind of wood. I was pushing it with the 3 different kinds of woods that I know. If you bring in redwood, out comes a redwood table. If you bring in oak, out comes an oak table. If you bring in pine, out comes a pine. And if you bring in cherry, out comes a cherry table. That's it. That's a function. So, that's a refresher on functions. And previously, in our previous experience, we would see something like y equals 3x plus 2. And we came to know and love the y, right? We understood that. In function notation, we would say f of x equals 3x plus 2. A function that does the same job, we might say, is g of x equals 3x plus 2. Another possibility, let's not do g again, let's do like s. S of t, well then that would be 3t plus 2. Okay, here's what function notation does. This guy over here you can think of as a y. Right? When you're solving equations and moving stuff around, this is its own little thing, and it acts just like a y. Okay. What it allows us to do, though, is if I said, let's say it was standing way over here, and I wanted to say, look over there at the function s. Well, boom, your eye goes right there, function s. Not function g, and not function f, but function s. Okay? All of these are very similar looking, but they're distinguishable by their names. This is the name of the function f. Name of this function is g. Name of this function is s. Okay? Now, that's one big thing. And something you need to be careful of is, I might say it 100 times right now, and you may still make this mistake, but these parentheses here do not mean take g and multiply it by x. Okay? What it means is that this is the function called g, and the variable that you're going to be seeing over here, that you put stuff in, that is its input, that variable is going to be x. Okay, for this one, the function is called s, and I put in variables for t. I put in numbers for the variable t. Okay, and this t could stand for time, and that's why we use t. Okay, and that's what happens with functions is you start using letters that kind of help you remember what's going on here. So that is what's going on there, and to help you see it a little bit, and also to go over some more notation, if I were to say this function over here, this is my function s, right? So if I said s of 4, commonly what happens again is they want to take, like, somehow maybe take this and multiply it by 4, because this is times 4, or it looks like times 4, but it's not. It's s, we say s of 4. That means if I put a 4 in for t, you can notice I put a 4 in for this t, I'm going to put a 4 in for all the other t's that I see. Okay? So I'd put in a 3 times this, 4. That's what I'm substituting in for t this time. 2, that's going to be 12 plus 2, that's a 14. Okay? Let's look at a different function. Maybe q of r equals r squared minus r plus 2. So what's going to happen here when I do q of 2? That just means everywhere I see how I replaced r with 2, every time I see an r over here, I'm going to replace it with a 2. 2 squared minus 2 plus 2. Okay, 2 minus 2, that's 0. 2 squared is 4. Okay, that q of 2 is 4. Okay, so that's just some function notation. Don't let it throw you. Don't let it weird you out or haunt you at night. It's just a way of talking about functions that helps us distinguish them from each other, and there's a little bit of notation that goes along with it when we're talking about evaluating a function, when we're going to put a number into the function. Okay, so that's that.